What is up, everyone? I'm Ryan from Fireside Knicks with my friend and co-host Dylan Backer. And tomorrow night is the first game of this highly anticipated Knicks and Cavs series. I've mentioned this on previous podcasts. This feels like the first round matchup that has the most question marks surrounding it, right? I'm not saying there aren't some other interesting matchups maybe out west, but especially in the East, this really feels like the one matchup, that could go either way, right? Like, again, no disrespect to the Nets, but I don't think they're beating the 76ers. No disrespect to whoever comes out of that second play-in game, but I don't think they're beating the Bucks, and no disrespect to the Hawks, but I don't think they're beating the Celtics, and I think the sports books would agree with that. I think most analysts would agree with that, but this is a really weird series because there are some question marks in terms of availability. These two teams played each other 4 times. The Knicks won the season series, but the Cavs finished the better record, and on paper, in terms of performance, they were the better team this year. I'm not gonna argue that, but with that being said, you feel like the Knicks can match up well with these guys. Tomorrow's a big game. So with a lot of stuff to talk about, with plenty of really interesting storylines over the next coming weeks. Dylan, how are you doing today, my friend? And how do you feel about Knicks postseason basketball? Not just Knicks basketball, Knicks postseason basketball starting tomorrow night.
Right. I'm doing great first off, and tomorrow's a big day. Tomorrow's first playoff game of this hopefully long playoff run for the Knicks. Let's hope for a long run, but regardless, it's still fun to see them in the postseason. The past 20 years have just been littered with bad seasons and heartbreak, or just not very fun seasons to watch. This was probably one of the most fun seasons that most Knicks fans can say they've watched in the 21st century, really. You know what I mean? You had the 2012 Melo team, and then you have this team. This is pretty much what you have. You know what I mean? And right now, we seem to be trending in a direction where it's going to continue for seasons onward. Let's just keep our fingers crossed with that one. But to preview tomorrow's game, it's a big game, game one, and there's a big key uncertainty with Julius Randle. We don't know if he's going to play or not. We still haven't really heard much else this week, and that's kind of expected. I don't think the team's really going to give away their game plan or what they plan to do with Randle, because then it allows the other team to adjust to that. You kind of got to force Cleveland to prepare for both if Randle plays, and if Randle doesn't play, you got to kind of force him to do that. So I understand why not much has come out about that, but at the same time, it does leave us Knicks fans pretty anxious about it, wondering if he will play, because we do need Julius Randle to play. In these playoff games, this is no longer just games that we can just kind of give up. No, we need him to play. We need him to play every single game in the playoffs, you know what I mean? So right now, I think the last thing we heard about Randle was that he went through parts of practice, and that, we still don't know if he's going to play because he hasn't really gone through contact, which is a big thing to hear. You know what I mean? There is a chance he might not play game one. There's a chance he also might play game one. We really don't know, but it will make a huge difference in who can come out on top in game one. You know what I mean? We're playing it on the road. The Cavs have the home court advantage this series. Quite frankly, that's not going to, hopefully it won't affect us too much, because we were pretty good on the road this year anyway. So hopefully we still, can handle our own even on the road. But we need Julius Randle. We need him, you know what I mean? Because if Julius Randle doesn't play, that means Obi Toppin's going to have to start in a playoff game, and I don't really know how I feel about that. And not even just that, but who's going to back him up? You know what I mean? Now you're going to have to pull someone from who's out of the rotation to back him up, which is more like what you're going to have to do. Or maybe you run an 8-man and you have Josh Hart and Barrett kind of fill in that backup 4 spot, but then you're going to run these guys into the dirt. I mean, we need Randle. We need Randle for the depth purposes, and also just because he is the superstar player that we have that has taken us to this level that we are at right now. He's a big reason why we are the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference, and why we have this playoff matchup against Cleveland. So looking at that, but looking at the series overall, I like our chances. I do. We handled Cleveland really well in the regular season. I think we went 3-1, and the one loss we had was when we still had Rose, Fournier, and Reddish in the rotation, and now none of those guys are in the rotation, and Reddish is no longer on the team. So, ever since we changed the rotation, we hadn't lost to Cleveland. So I like our chances there. I like how we match up against them. I think we're the deeper team. I think, obviously, Cleveland has the superstar talent with Mitchell and Garland and Allen and whatnot, but we I think have a deeper team overall. I think we have more pieces that can contribute to the basketball court than Cleveland does. That's not discrediting Cleveland's guys. I think we just have a deeper squad. You know what I mean? Ryan, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, the way I view it is, Julius Randle, obviously, as you mentioned, is that big variable. The Knicks are not very deep at the power forward position. As you mentioned, it's Randle and then Toppin, and, no disrespect to Obi Toppin, but out of the guys that are in contention for rotation minutes, I think it's really he's the guy who's probably the clearly the worst rotation player on the Knicks. So going from, your second best player to arguably the worst player in your rotation as your starter is suboptimal. And then, if you have to go to like a Sims as a power forward, we've seen that Hartenstein-Sims combo as a power forward in the center, and no, it's not good. Maybe you can factor McBride in there, but how does that really help you in the power forward sense? As you mentioned, you could slide some guys there, but it'll be really tough without Randle. But as you mentioned, the depth on this team, right? I think that there are guys that are not in the rotation or are fringe rotation guys who can play specific roles in these matchups, right? Like I mentioned McBride just now. The Cavs have two really prominent scoring guards in Garland and Mitchell, and that's the majority of their offense, right? Like they are not an elite offensive team. If you look at their offensive rating, they're not very potent in that regard. They're an elite defensive team, probably the best defensive team in the East. That's their bread and butter. If you can maybe throw in a guy like McBride in there to match up with a Mitchell or a Garland for certain minutes or for certain rotations, that could be interesting, but I wonder how much they're willing to take the offensive hit for the defensive upgrade. I guess it just depends on how different guys are playing. But they have that second unit is really strong when they're healthy. A second unit of Quickly, Hart, Toppin, and Hartenstein, right? Like Hartenstein's been a really good big ever since he started playing more like a traditional one, less spacing, more just go out there and chase rebounds, be an interior presence. Hart and Quickly, I don't need to talk about them very much. We know what they're capable of. We know what they've done for the Knicks all year. And then, of course, Toppin, when he gets minutes, he seems to play very well. But we obviously know that's not the role he can play in this offense when everyone's fully healthy and when everyone's active. But can he get a couple points? Can he get to the rim? Can he, hit a couple threes? If he can do that, right, like he's going to play a huge role in this series. It's going to be that could be a really nice swing for the Knicks, especially since you feel like your second unit is better than the Cavs second unit. Inherently, I don't think there's any bench that's a better player than Emmanuel Quickly, right? That he's a sixth man of the year. So I think you have the best bench player out of most teams you're going to be facing off against. I'd probably say all of them just for this year alone. Hart is an excellent defensive player. He's an excellent role player. He probably, there's an argument to be made that he might get starts this series, right? That's how valuable he's been for the Knicks. And then, of course, RJ gets rotated into the second unit usually. Usually how they split up his minutes is to let him run with the second unit because he's the most aggressive scorer. He's probably the second best shot creator behind Quickly on that unit, and he's able to go out and get a lot of buckets. The big thing here is just the interior presence with the Cavs, right? I've talked about this all week. We've talked about this all week. The Cavs have two elite defensive centers in Mobley and Allen that can really take and cause a lot of disruption. And for a team that doesn't shoot the three extremely well relative to the rest of the league, that is concerning, but you feel like if you get the right guys red hot, Quentin Grimes is playing well lately. Toppin's been shooting the ball well lately. Obviously, Brunson shot the ball well all year Quickly as well. You feel like you can get these guys in a groove. You can maybe kill them from three, but it's going to be a slog. I feel like, maybe I'm wrong about this. I want to hear your take about this. I feel like this first game, it's going to be a very inefficient game for both parties. I really don't think the Knicks are going to shoot very well from the field. And I'm not saying that to say that they're not good, but I'm saying that in the sense of like, I think this is going to be a slog, just a slog, like a 105 to 100 type of game. Some really gross shooting lines. But what do you think about that? I think this first game is more of a defensive minded game. What do you think?
No, I kind of agree. I don't really expect any crazy offensive games to come out of this first one, to be honest. I could be wrong, and who knows, maybe Brunson and Mitchell will have a rematch of that, what they did a couple weeks ago when they both dropped 40 plus. That'd be nice to see if we come out on top of that. But realistically speaking, I kind of agree. It's not going to really be anything crazy offensively. Both teams haven't played in over a week. Both teams have been just practicing. Obviously that's what happens when you make the playoffs. You have that long layoff, but game one of the playoffs, you're kind of getting back into the rhythm of playing basketball, and you're getting accustomed to playoff basketball as well. I definitely can expect the start of the game to be pretty ugly. I'm going to be honest. I could definitely expect like the start of the game, like the first 7 minutes, whatever, to not be pretty. I can't expect that to be pretty from both sides, not just the Knicks, from both sides. I don't think either side is going to start off the game very hot. I could be wrong, and they both end up scoring like 30 points in 10 minutes or something like that, but the way I see it and the patterns that I've noticed this year, I feel like it's going to, like you said, Ryan, I feel like it's going to kind of be like a slog. I feel like it's going to be, a bit of a slow game. It's not going to be anything crazy, especially if Julius Randle doesn't play, then it really won't be anything crazy. I at least won't expect that. But the beauty of basketball is anything could happen, and it's a very unpredictable sport. So who knows? Maybe they'll have an offensive explosion. Maybe they won't. I guess we'll find out. But I definitely expect the defense to play much more of a role in this game from both sides. Like I said, both teams have had a long layoff, so both teams they'll feel much better defensively than when they take shots, because when they're taking shots, they got to kind of get themselves back into the rhythm of taking shots at game speed, taking shots in games, taking shots in playoff games. It's a different atmosphere, so it'll definitely be an adjustment period, but hopefully game one is just like the slow one, and then like after that, the Knicks come out gunning it. The offense starts clicking, like we saw during their winning streaks and stuff like that. Like that's the offense I want to see. That kind of offense, because that's efficient offense and that's fast offense. That's you're killing defenses with that. I want to see that throughout the series. Do I expect it to be that way? It's going to be tough. I'm not going to sit here and lie. It's going to be tough because Cleveland is a very good defensive team, like you've mentioned, but I guess we'll just find out. The Knicks have seemed to kind of handle teams with good defenses, ironically enough. So who knows? Maybe they'll find a way to crack through the holes and come out with a good offensive performance. But to look at game one to kind of see like who's going to be the guy to watch, I would say it's Jalen Brunson without a doubt. Obviously I would have said Julius Randle if I knew he was playing, but we don't know if he's playing, so I don't want to speculate that. So I'm just going to go with someone who I know is playing, and it's Jalen Brunson. Obviously last time they played Cleveland, like I mentioned, Brunson had 48 points, a career night, awesome night. He just absolutely destroyed Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, quite frankly. He destroyed them. He matched Mitchell's 42 with a 48, and he just destroyed them. He took them over the edge. Cleveland shot the ball really well that game, yet we still beat them by 14 as well because of Brunson. So Brunson's going to be the key guy to watch. We've seen how he performs in the playoffs. We saw last year with Dallas how he took Donovan Mitchell out in the first round, got the team to the Western Conference Finals. He has a bit of experience now under his belt in the NBA. He already had that college experience winning 2 championships at Villanova, but now he's got that NBA playoff experience. So I expect Brunson to come out and have big games this series. I expect him to have a really big playoff series because he's going to play a key role in the Knicks offense. He's going to be like the guy to go to. So I expect him to do quite a lot. What do you think about that? Who's your guy to watch for?
Yeah, my guy is, I'm going to go with Quentin Grimes. Grimes has shot really well from 3 lately. The Knicks, I think a lot of their offense, a lot of their points are going to come from 3. I feel like the other guy you inherently want to talk about is Emmanuel Quickley in that regard, because Quickley has been so damn good since the new year. But, I think I can expect Quickley to play well. I can expect Brunson to play well. The guys who are, the guys that you can rely upon to play well, I think are going to show up, right? And you expect good play from them. It depends on whether it's elite or good play, right? That could end up being a difference. But I think what's going to end up being the difference for this team is their ability to hit big threes and the ability to get the 3-ball rolling, especially against a team like the Cavs, who, again, you look at their guard play, elite offense. Garland and Mitchell are not known for their defense. Whereas interior-wise, the complete opposite. Mobley and Allen, you're not saying they're like terrible offensive players, but they're not going to drop 40 on you. But they will definitely create havoc for you defensively. So what you could get from Grimes, if he can hit some threes, if he can go, let's say he gets 7 attempts from 3, if he hits 4 of them, right, like that could be the difference. Maybe even get that 5th one in there. The Knicks could end up winning a postseason game just based on, they could end up winning a postseason series just based on that. So I'm going to pick Quentin Grimes there. I don't know if you have any final thoughts, because again, this is kind of, weirdly enough, it's been a while since, not a while as in like, in terms of, normal postseason droughts for the Knicks, but, this is the first postseason game this core has played. Yes, RJ and Randall were on that previous team, so was Quickley, but Brunson wasn't there, Grimes wasn't there, Hart wasn't there. You feel like, this is a different team than it was that year. This is new. This is new. This is different. There's a lot of anticipation, a lot of nerves. There's expectations for this team. There's no longer, hey, it's cool to just be above 500. Now it's, hey, this team needs to show up and play this series. What are your final thoughts before we enter game 1?
Right. I totally agree. This team has a lot higher expectations than that 2021 team. I think a lot of people knew that 2021 team was destined for kind of, just a failure in the playoffs. Maybe they would have won a playoff series, but, I don't think anybody was too shocked that they didn't, because, Julius Randle was kind of just the guy and only him, throughout most of that season. And then, obviously in the playoffs, the Hawks, game planned around him, completely shut down Randle, and as a result, they won the playoff series. You know what I mean? We literally had to change our starting point guard mid-series in 2021 from Elfrid Payton to Derrick Rose. We really had no consistency at that spot either. Now we have a consistent point guard in Brunson. We have the options, like you said, like Grimes, Hartenstein. Mitch is healthy now, so Mitch will be able to play in his first playoff series. So seeing things like that, I have a lot more confidence in this team. It feels different. You kind of have that feeling like they actually have a chance to make some noise this year than compared to they did in 2021. Like I said, I don't think a lot of people expected much in 2021. It was kind of just like, oh, cool, they made the playoffs. Let's hope for next year that we do even better. And then 2022, they fell back to earth a little bit, but then they bounced back, this year. So I'm glad they did that, obviously. But, I have a lot more confidence this year, like I've been saying. I have a lot more confidence. They just feel like a better basketball team. They click well together. I know they don't move the ball a whole lot, ironically enough, but they score so well in one-on-one situations that I have a lot of confidence that they can get by doing that. Brunson and Randall are like two of the best isolation, some of the best isolation guys in the NBA. You know what I mean? Like they get their buckets each and every way somehow, and it's not like they don't pass the ball. It's just they're not averaging 10 assists a game. And statistically as a team, the Knicks are one of the lowest in assists per game. They might even be dead last if I'm not mistaken. But regardless of that, I just love the way they play this year. Even with that, I love the way they're playing. Obviously in 2021 they were a much better 3-point shooting team, but this year I feel like their scoring is more well-rounded. It's all around. They're scoring from the mid-range. They're scoring from the post. They're scoring in the paint. They're scoring at threes. They're not scoring threes like incredibly efficiently, but they are hitting threes. They're not exactly a team you just want to leave open. You know what I mean? Like they're not, if that makes sense. Like you don't want to just leave them open, but my point is the offense is just more well-rounded. You have more threats in each spot of the floor rather than just 3-pointers or just dunks or just layups, whatever. You have, Brunson and Randall, for example, that can kill you pretty much in any spot of the floor. They can kill you in the mid-range. They can kill you in the post. They can kill you at 3. They can do all that, and not many teams exactly have the luxury of 2 guys that can do all that. There's only a handful of teams that really have that kind of, like I said, that luxury. So just looking at that, looking really forward to this playoff series. I'm hoping for a good series. My series prediction that I'm going to lash out right now, I say the Knicks are going to win the series in 7. That's what I think. And that's pretty realistic prediction, I would say. I don't think the Knicks are necessarily going to stomp Cleveland to the ground, but I do think they have a good chance to win this series if they just play their brand of basketball. If they just do the right things that they've been doing during the winning streak, move the ball around, shoot it, have high efficient offensive nights and play good defense. If they do all those things, then they can take this series in 7 games. And I say 7 games because, Donovan Mitchell was no easy out. He is going to get his buckets no matter what. You know what I mean? He's a superstar NBA talent, MVP level player. It's going to happen. So you got to try to limit him to some degree to win these games. Even if that means he ends up still dropping 30 points, if you can match him on the other side, if you can do the right things on the offensive side, then you should be fine. You should be able to win these games. You just got to make sure that you don't let Mitchell get like 50 on you and let the other pieces on Cavs offense kill you as well. You know what I'm saying? So looking at all that, the Knicks can definitely win this series. They definitely can. That's, like I said, they're not going to stomp them. I don't think this is going to be like a 5-game series. This is definitely going to be like a 6 or 7-game series. I definitely think that. It's pretty even matchup in the East, so I definitely think it's going to go that far. But my prediction is Knicks in 7. What is your prediction for this series?
I'm going to also go Knicks. I'm going to go Knicks, but in 6. I think that I again think it's going to be a closer series. Like I'm not saying 6 games because I think the Knicks are going to go out there and like stomp the Cavs as well. But I think that they'll be able to get. I think they can jump out. I think the first game is going to be crucial. If they come out and win the first game, I feel confident they can get that second game. And I think they're going to take a pretty early lead in this series. I think the Cavs are going to grab the next game. I think the Knicks are going to end up going up 3-1 at some point and then close it out over the final 2 games. That's just my opinion on it. I think the Knicks match up decently well against the Cavs. We'll have to wait and see, obviously. I would not be stunned if the Cavs won this series, obviously. I would not be stunned if they won in 6. I would not be stunned if they won in 7. End of the day, that's a really good team. But I'm really confident in this Knicks team and how they've played lately and the direction they're trending in. So yeah, no, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments below, though. Let us know what you guys think about game one. What do you guys think this series is going to end up going? There are a lot of different things that we could definitely talk about as the series goes on. Again, a lot of storylines, a lot of narratives, a lot of things that are going to go into this series. And a lot of players have a lot of things that they'd like to prove in this series as well. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for supporting us on our platforms. Make sure to check us out on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, of course, our YouTube page. And if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, drop us a 5-star rating. Thank you guys so much. Like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on your post notifications, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.